or Africa. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So welcome to the newbies who are seeing my face for the first time. My name is Eva Mtali. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much and welcome back. So today's video, how to market, how to run your Airbnb. I was inspired by a question that I was asked by one of my friends. I hope you get a chance to watch this video. So she told me she is starting her Airbnb business and she would like to learn from me because I have been running Airbnb since 2016, and she just wanted to find out, how do you run your business, how do you market, and all that. So that's what I'm going to be covering in today's video. So the first thing I would like to say is sell what you would buy. So I started my Airbnb business out of necessity. My Airbnbs were based in a place called Mpesa in Nairobi. It's quite close to the airport, less than 1 kilometer to the air. Actually, the airport in Nairobi, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, is based in Mpesa. So back in the day, we didn't have all these hotels you see on Mombasa Road. So every time when I flew into JKIA, I figured there was a lot of people who are just lying down on the at the airport, and most of them, so when I interviewed them, I learned that majority of them were people who are on transit using Kenya Airways to other parts of Africa. And one thing that surprised me is that the Kenya Airways flights, the transition times used to be so long, sometimes 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. I do not know if that is still the case. So because there was no option of, let's say, visa-free travel to Kenya like it is now, we didn't have all these hotels you have along Mombasa Road. So most of the travelers figured they would be as well just stay at the airport. So that's how the idea of running an Airbnb right close to the airport came to me, and I set up my Airbnbs in Mpesa. So this is something I used to do myself. If I travel to a country and have a long layover period, I just get out of the airport, go and rest in an Airbnb or in a hotel, and then come back when it's time for my flight. So I was like, okay, this is something that I could sell. So step number one, sell what you would buy, because when you are selling what you would buy, you are the target market, and it becomes very easy because you know what you want, you know what you're looking for. So for example, by virtue of the fact that I was targeting people who are on transit at JKIA, I knew the very things that somebody would need. So for example, they need a place just to lay their head. They would need ready-made food. For example, after a long flight, nobody enjoys flight food. So I always made sure that if you are checking in the evening, you'd find a warm pilau with some avocado and fresh juice, and a dessert of a cake that I would bake myself. There was a washing machine at the property, and it had 80% drying capacity. So in case somebody had a few things they just want to quickly clean, there was that option. I also had, what do we call this? I had, like, in 2016, Uber wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now. So I also had a taxi pickup and drop off facility as a package of the Airbnb. So that is why I say sell what you buy, because it becomes very easy to know how to package the product. Number two, ask yourself, what do you bring to the Airbnb table compared to what other people are already offering? So right now, I no longer do Airbnb since COVID time, but I can tell for sure there are hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of Airbnbs that are being offered in Kenya. So the question is, what are you offering differently from what is already in the market? So like in my case, I was offering something that would cater for those who are on transit at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, or people who are probably coming from outside of Nairobi and they have flights at weird hours of the morning or weird hours of the night, and they just need a place to settle just before they catch their flight. So location could be what you're offering. Like in my case, it was the location. It was very close to JKIA. It could be that your property is at the beach, for example, so it's a very nice getaway. It could be that your property is out of town but not too far away from town. So for example, if you are looking at the target market that is in Nairobi, and you have a property in Ngong, or you have a property in Kitengela. So it's get somebody out of the bustle and hustle of Nairobi, but it's not too far away from Nairobi. Like they can literally quickly get back if they wanted to. You could be offering views, for example. So there are people who are big on views like myself. If your property has views, like I want views for days. So are you offering views? Like, do you have nice sunset views or nice sunrise views? What are you bringing differently to the table? Or is your property cheaper? Though I'm gonna get to that in a moment. Are you offering exclusive designs? Like, one thing I personally love to do is when I book an Airbnb, I just don't want to book an Airbnb. I want an Airbnb that gives me ideas for my retirement home. So I'm always booking beautiful spaces because I am gathering ideas for my future home, which if you haven't checked out, we have a channel called Starehe Manor, Starehe M-A-N-O-R, Starehe Manor, where I'm documenting my journey as I build my retirement property. I'm sharing the entire build, the costs, everything, and please subscribe if you haven't. So is it luxury that you're offering? Is it like a tiny home? Is it a container home? Is it an A-frame home? So you have to ask yourself, what are you offering? Is it just a beautiful space? I pay for Airbnb just to stay at beautiful spaces. So you have to ask yourself what you bring to the table than what is already available on Airbnb. Number 3, who is your target market? Remember, your target market is going to determine these first two. It will determine what you're bringing to the table and what you're going to be selling. So the best target, as I've already mentioned, best target market is people of the same demographic as yourself. Because you already know what you want, you know where to find these people in terms of social media, in terms of physically where they are, in terms of, like geography. So focus on a demographic like yourself or a demographic that you are already familiar with. So like me, it was very easy. I'm targeting people who was traveling. I am a travel junkie. So it was very easy. I know what I look out for after a long flight. So it was I know what I'm looking for, stuff like having white bed sheets. I know it's a no-brainer, white towels, and such basic things. And then pricing, yeah? So one thing I've never ever understood is when I go onto the Airbnb platform and I see people who have like renting out entire houses for like $15. And I'm like, how are you even offering a service at $15? Because even I, in 2016, the cheapest I ever charged one person for a 2-bedroom apartment per night was $70. That was the cheapest I ever charged. And one advantage of charging a reasonable price for your Airbnb, number one, it weeds out the idiots, like that kind of clientele. You're like, come on, Mpesa, acha ikai, So just charging a premium, it gave me quality stays. Number 2, charging a premium ensured that I could be able to offer premium services. So for example, for my Airbnbs, I always cooked for you. If you came in the evening, you'd find a warm meal, either both vegetarian and non-vegetarian. There was juices plus a dessert. If you are coming, and then standard provision, there was fresh juices, there was always soda, there was water, there was always a dessert, there was always things like cereals and yogurt and milk and all these other niceties because I was charging a premium. So, but another thing again, sometimes price is an indicator of value. When you charge so cheaply, you attract cheap clients to your Airbnb, and that's not what you want. So for me, I was so focused on quality over quantity. So if I charge $70 and my neighbor or my competitor is charging $20, it means I could host for one night while my competitor has to host for 3 nights in order to earn the same amount of money that I am charging for one night. By charging more, I was able to, so for example, with my Airbnbs, I was very fortunate because I travel a lot. So I literally used to buy stuff from the US when they were on sale. So basically, I used to buy like from Costco. So I would buy like 50 towels, 100 face towels and stuff. And it cost me very little money, like $3, $4, I could get a towel. And if I'm charging you $70 a night, technically, I would be like, if you want to carry the towels, you can go with them because the money you are paying me is enough for me to buy like 10 towels. So just that gesture of you can carry your towel if you want to and stuff like that. And the niceties I was able to charge because I was able to offer because I was charging a reasonable price. It made my Airbnb very exclusive and I had very high ratings. In terms of payment, personally, I do not believe in this business of doing Airbnb while you're not on the Airbnb platform. It's a Kenyan thing I've never understood. Somebody says, I have an Airbnb, and you tell them, can you share with me the link? They're like, no, I don't have a link. And I'm like, so how is it Airbnb? So my advice for you, please make sure you list your property on airbnb.com. It will help you in 3 main areas. Number 1, you're going to get free marketing on the platform because Airbnb has this tendency to, if your property is beautiful, if you're getting good ratings, it will just pop up on people's home pages, and that is free marketing for you. Number 2, you're going to benefit from social proof. If somebody stays at your property, Airbnb usually gives them, I think it's 2 weeks to 1 month for them to rate you. So every time and the only people who can rate you are people who have stayed at your property. So if you get high ratings, that is already social proof for you. And it shows people that actually Eva has a decent property that I could give a try. And if you check my travel channel, Travel with Eva Mtali, I actually shared with you guys why I chose to stay at an Airbnb when I was in the US instead of staying at a hotel. And I also share with you some of the factors to consider before you settle for an Airbnb property. And you'll see that some of the things I'm mentioning here are some of the factors that I considered before I rented out my Airbnb in the US. And then the other thing about the Airbnb app is that you get quality clientele because with the Airbnb app, it protects both you as the owner of the Airbnb as well as your guest. So if somebody comes to your property, the fact that they have booked your property, you are already insured. So Airbnb already insures your property against vandalism and theft and stuff like that. And before you're allowed to book a property on Airbnb, you have to put in your ID. So this alone already is enough information for you. Should somebody come to your property and they mess up, you could send a message to Airbnb and Airbnb will help you to sort out this mess because they already have this person's ID. And because somebody already knows that Airbnb has my ID and my details, that is enough deterrent for such kind of potential people. And in effect, you end up getting quality clients. Something else with registering your property on airbnb.com, it allows you to set like payment terms. So you can say, for example, you can't cancel 3 days to, or if you cancel 3 days to, you're gonna get only 50% upfront. And as soon as somebody books your property, Airbnb will deduct the money. So this alone also gives you guarantee. You don't have cases where somebody books your property and then they don't show up and you lose out on business for that day. So those are just some of the advantages of listing on Airbnb. Something else about, so in terms of payment, Airbnb handles the payment on your behalf. And in my case, I had linked Airbnb to my PayPal account. So I used to get paid in US dollars on my PayPal account. So that is just a bonus, especially for someone who travels a lot. Having US dollars was always a plus. I used to use the money to buy my air tickets, to book my hotels, book my Airbnb and all that stuff. So especially if you're like in Kenya, things are so tight now. If you can get foreign currency, the better for you. So that's why I advise you, list your property on airbnb.com. I also used to list my property on booking.com because there was a functionality that allows you to seamlessly intertwine both platforms so that there was no way somebody could book on booking.com and then on the same night somebody has booked on airbnb.com. So booking.com gave me another audience that I didn't have on Airbnb because booking.com has been there for forever. So in terms of payments, I would advise you, do not accept cash payments at all. I never even one day accepted cash payments. So when I booked on Airbnb, Airbnb processed the payment on my behalf. They paid me via PayPal in US dollars. When I listed my property on booking.com, booking.com, you are the one who takes the payment from the client if you're based in Kenya. So I had a PDQ machine that I got from Equity Bank. So if you want to get more clients, have the option of a PDQ machine. So PDQ machine allows you to accept credit cards and debit cards. So just the fact that I had the PDQ machine gave me clients that other people did not have. So remember, I asked what you bring to the table. I just had a PDQ machine. So you as an Airbnb owner with a PDQ machine puts you on the same pedestal with a hotel, for example, because it's not a lot of individual Airbnb owners that have PDQ machines. And also in the event, somebody came to my property and they liked it and they wanted to extend, it was very simple. I didn't have to handle cash. I'm like, here is the machine, swipe it. And then I also made sure that when guests came to my property, if they came through booking.com, you had to fill in a registration form. Same way you fill in when you go to a hotel. And the reason I did this because it gave me the option to, number one, get your ID. Who are you? So in the form, I made it clear that I'm gonna need a copy of your identification, which was a passport. So when once somebody filled in the form, there was a section where you fill in consent, that you consent for me to get your ID. So I would take a picture of their passport. So the fact that I had a picture of your passport, if you came through booking.com, because booking.com doesn't take clients' ID. If you came through Airbnb, I just gave you a receipt. If you came through booking.com, then I had to take a picture of your passport. So this alone gave me protection. And then in the form, it also filled in your next of kin. So in case of anything, I knew who I would contact. And it also gave me a chance to go and do some Google background checks on these people. So at any point in time, I always knew who was in my house. If you're not able to get PayPal or you're not able to get a credit card, please go for Mpesa or mobile money. Why do you want to go through Mpesa? Because it gives you an audit trail. In case anything happens, it clearly shows that so-and-so is the one who made this payment. And you just want to cover your back. So-and-so was in my house. In case of any theft, in case of anything, you know where to start looking for this person, because for you to register for Mpesa, you must have issued your ID at some point in time. So avoid offline customers at all costs. Not one day did I ever accept an offline customer. Number 6, let's now talk about marketing. So I've talked about if you go through Airbnb or booking.com, you're going to get free marketing. If your clients decide to give you feedback, you're going to benefit from social proof. However, another way, especially in this day and age of social media, depending on how you get your property, my advice for you would be, if let's say it's a property that you are building or remodeling, excuse me guys, my cable. So if it's a property that you are building or remodeling and wanting to put it on Airbnb, I would encourage you to document your journey. That is exactly what I am doing with Starehe Manor. I documented the process right from when I bought the property until now when we have done the fencing. So start documenting your journey to the Airbnb. And some examples I would give you to look at, and I will link them in the description box at the bottom of this video. So there's an account on Instagram. They call themselves Forrest Naromoru, for F-O-R-R, and then R-E-S, Rest Naromoru. They have been documenting their journey, how they are building the property. They're in Mount Kenya, and the whole journey is on Instagram. And then we have another account called Siri. They are in Limuru. They also shared with us, they documented the entire journey of how they were building their A-frame property until when they have now opened for business. They are also on Instagram. I will link them below. There's some guy in Scotland. He's called George Dunnett. George Dunnett bought a tiny house in Scotland. It was it was abandoned, in very bad shape. He shared with us the journey of how he remodeled the house. He stayed on it for, I think, about 3 months or so, and then he gave it up for Airbnb, and all that process he documented, including when he listed on Airbnb, he told us about it. That is on YouTube. Somebody else is Adventure Singh. Adventure Singh is a Kenyan. He documented the build of his Mabati Airbnb on YouTube. He put the whole process for us until when it was now up for Airbnb. I was also linking them at the bottom. Of course, we have Starehe Mana, yours truly, not yet ready for Airbnb, but on the process. I'm documenting the journey. You can check it out, Starehe Mana on YouTube. We have another YouTuber, Melanie V. Melanie V also recently got an Airbnb, I think on Gong Road. And when she was furnishing it, when she was putting up on Airbnb, she came on YouTube. She's already a YouTuber and she talked to us through that journey. We have Ayamarwa, the biggest YouTuber in Africa. Currently has 500,000 followers plus, has built his property right here on YouTube for the past, I think, 2 years or so, and he's been documenting that entire journey. So the day he decides to put it up for Airbnb, it's gonna be something that all of us are looking forward to. So that is one way you can go about it. So take advantage of social media, document your journey. If you're not even like building the property, you can document your journey, like when you're buying the stuff for the property, when you're even shopping for the houses. You can take us through the decision. Why did you pick house A over house B? Why did you pick the first floor instead of the second floor? And just take us through that journey so that by the time you're actually putting out your Airbnb, you already have an audience, you have people who are excited, we followed your journey, and you have people that love you and your journey, and they might just come to promote you. Something else you can consider is, so basically, if you're gonna be documenting your journey, I would suggest, so we've seen this people have used Instagram and YouTube, but these are people who already had an audience. So if you do not have an audience, you don't have any social media, what can I call it? Like social media background, I would encourage you to go to TikTok. One thing I love about TikTok is that unlike these other social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok model is based on, they call it interest algorithm. So basically the algorithm doesn't check who has the most followers and send audiences to them. It checks what does Eva like to watch, and then it sends me stuff that I like to watch. And that is why you can get on TikTok today and your first video goes viral. True story, it happened to me. My first video on TikTok, I posted a car, a 10-second video, and within 2 days, that video had more than 1 million views. That's the advantage of TikTok, because they are more focused on interests. The algorithm follows the interests. So it doesn't matter if I'm new to TikTok, if I'm talking about something that somebody likes, TikTok is gonna present my content to their For You page. So it's very easy to go viral on TikTok. Unlike Instagram and YouTube, favors mostly the OGs, those who've been there, done that. They get most of the traffic. So it's not very easy to break through, but I would still encourage you, even as you open a TikTok account for your Airbnb, do open an Instagram and YouTube and X and all these social media. That's what I have done for Starehe Mana. I have Starehe Mana is on TikTok, Starehe Mana is on Twitter, now X. Starehe Mana is on Facebook, Starehe Mana is on YouTube. And I create content on YouTube as well as in Starehe Mana. And guys, you can check the kind of videos that I'm putting out there. I'm literally talking about everything that I am going through as I try to build Starehe Mana. And I've also talked, once you have, maybe if you get like a client and they come to your property, let your client akupigie debe. Be so exceptional that your client will be talking about you even without you asking them. So if, let's say, you already have a TikTok account of your property, let your clients know that, by the way, our property is listed on TikTok, it's listed on Instagram. Please feel free to go and leave your review there. Yeah? And this is gonna give you social proof. So people will come there and they're talking about your property, blah, blah, blah. It just gives you free social proof. You can also take advantage of influencer marketing. So I have seen several Airbnbs in Kenya invite influencers to stay at their properties and give free marketing. So for example, I know there's an influencer, she's called Kate. I don't remember her other name. She's on Instagram. And also she's on YouTube, and recently she was, in fact, I've seen her market 2 properties. There's a container house in Ngong, and there's also a Mabati house in Naivasha. I first saw them on her channel. I didn't even know that they existed, but these were new Airbnb properties, and when the owners listed them, they used her. She went and stayed there, and she's very good. She's got very good videography and cookery skills. So both of them, the container house and the Mabati house in Naivasha, they used her, and personally that's how I learned about her. So you can consider influencer marketing as well. Yeah, so guys, those are the different step processes, the different strategies I have used personally for managing my Airbnbs and for marketing my Airbnbs. And that's what I would encourage you to consider if you are looking to get into Airbnb in 2024 and beyond, because the landscape has changed, guys. As usual, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, you know you need to give it a thumbs up, leave a sweet comment below, and share the video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.